Okay, sorry about that. We had a few technical difficulties. Anyways, just wanted to continue off from part one of, so we talked about the code for reality. So how do we represent everything? How do you go from that step, assuming that is somehow possible, representing the whole energy matter duality as quantized data? How do you go from there to representing a whole planet in data? And yeah, you just start by simulating brains. So you start by making artificial intelligence work as human brains do, and you basically have programmed the laws of physics as a function for the number, and whatever the code is, the laws of physics are programmed to change that code with time, and so that's how time becomes a dimension. And you start representing artificial intelligent brains, and then they start being put into computers, and they start generating their own ideas. And pretty soon we're able to get smaller and smaller representations of data within hard drive space. So make hard drives smaller and smaller. And the idea is eventually you get to about 6 molecules for a 1 or a 0, and so 12 for a toggle, and the whole thing becomes a complex salt crystal that you just scan like a barcode with technology that registers the scan, and that's becomes just scannable hard drive space represented by tiny quantum particles representing these 1s and 0s. And so you've got this tiny hard drive space. You make a lot of it. You get a computer the size of Iceland or whatnot, and you represent this huge salt crystal, these huge numbers of salt crystals. You represent the planet with these you put it onto these huge numbers of crystals of tiny molecules representing these 1s and 0s, and representing matter and energy. And how do you get that onto the hard drive? Well, you treat the whole thing like it's one big quantum field, and just like you paint a painting from one corner of the canvas to the other, so too do you paint the painting of the world as a quantized field, just from left to right, from one side to the next. And you take a picture of it with satellites, and you note where your photons are coming from. You note where these cosmic particles are coming from. You note where everything's coming from, and you slowly adjust your picture to compensate for where the sources are. And eventually you get it into a good enough simulation that you can predict human life, human outcomes based on your simulated planet. So you take pictures with satellites, you keep taking pictures, and you keep putting them onto hard drive space, and eventually you get enough good shots that you can make a completed work out of them, and all you need to do is keep calibrating it, and you keep calibrating based on the correcting the cosmic radiation, correcting the things you couldn't take 100% into account for. And so that's how you take code and put it into these salt crystals, and yeah, you're just playing with the molecules to represent ones and zeros, and the whole planet can be represented in enough space. And so once you've done that, the idea is to create the simulation of the world, of the Earth, which is the world we live in, the simulated Earth. And so how do you do that? Well, you start using schemas, and you take ones and zeros and these artificially intelligent brains, and you tell them to delegate tasks to more brains, and basically you start representing a data world in ones and zeros. And when you're finished that, you can take souls. What souls are is they're simply these floater objects. So imagine this was a little ball, so this would be a soul, and it would just float in space. When it sees, if I'm a pregnant mother here, it sees me with my pregnant mother's stomach. It floats towards this temple, this fetal brain is developing, and its connections, its electrical signals are gravitating the soul towards it. And once the fetal brain is at enough of a size, at enough of a size to overcome the soul's attraction. So imagine all these are particles in the soul, all these atoms are particles. And suddenly the soul expands and starts flowing through the connections of the electrical signals in the fetal brain. And suddenly it was once before just attracted to itself like this eraser. And suddenly it's expanding and it's becoming consciousness. And the idea is you can represent that with a real brain or a robotic brain, and you can manipulate the soul and make it feel and think and do what you want it to, and it's just a matter of changing its input data. And we think of our lives, and we have our output data, as I like to think of it, as what we do and our interactions with the world. And then there's our input data, which is what we think we're doing and what we think our interactions with the world really are. And the two can be quite different. I mean, all we know is that our brain is telling us what's real, when we don't know for sure what really is real, what it really is out there in the universe. And we could just be a robotic brain, we could just be a brain in a vat, and just thinking without actually having a physical body. So it's a bit scary for a lot of people to think of, but I'm quite used to thinking about it. And hope you enjoyed my couple videos. Just wanted to get simulation theory out there, and hope you found it interesting. Okay, thanks for watching.